You're listening to the Mortgage Success Podcast, a show created to inspire mortgage brokers to achieve optimal success in their mortgage businesses. I'm the host, Brian France, the author of the book, Internet Marketing for Mortgage Brokers, Tripling Your Online Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Done the Right Way. I'm also the founder of Mortgage Broker Marketing, the digital marketing agency for the mortgage industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in your mortgage business. Mortgage Success Podcast listeners, thank you for joining. With me today is Todd Duncan. Todd, how are you, man?
Good, Brian. Good to see you, man. What's going on?
Awesome. Nothing much.
Nothing much.
Happy to have you here. We're nothing much. Yeah.
Nothing much.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Real quick, tell us about how you got into mortgage, or just your brief history of how you got into mortgage, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, perfect. I had a childhood dream when I was 2 years old that I wanted to be a mortgage professional, and I just followed that my whole life, right?
I bet.
No, I think like everybody, right? It's like, how did we get into this beautiful, crazy business? And for me, the story was I graduated college and really didn't have an idea on which way I wanted to go, but I had a degree in marketing and finance, and it just so happened that my parents had a group of friends that owned Tarbell Real Estate. And so I met with Don Tarbell during the summer after graduating. He said, you'd be good at either real estate or mortgages, and which one appeals to you? And I go, I'm not sure either one. He goes, but why not? And I go, well, I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about those. He goes, what were you thinking about? And I said, I'm not sure. He said, why don't you try out mortgages? Now, mind you, this guy was my little league coach. So he's been coaching me since I was 8 years old.
Right.
And so I interviewed with the president of the mortgage company, and I liked the idea of helping people make their dreams come true, and doing it in a way that I could use my finance degree and my business degree. And so I became a professional mortgage originator 7 months after college graduation, and couldn't have picked the worst time to become a commissioned mortgage professional.
Yeah.
The economy, if you're watching the news, well, I don't recommend watching the news today, but in any event, if you've heard anybody say the economy today in 2022, it hasn't been this bad since 40 years ago. Not to date myself, but I started doing mortgages in 1980, and interest rates prime was 20, govies were 17 and a half, piggyback first and second, 18.9, unemployment above 10, consumer confidence in the tank, full-blown recession. Nobody thought anybody would be buying and selling real estate. And here I am, a commissioned loan originator. So I made a decision early on that I would not let the market define me. I would define the market. And I decided that the one thing I can do in a bad market is bring hope to people, and particularly real estate agents. So yeah. I began doing that, and next thing I know, we're like off the grid. And I remember the first month I originated 21 loans. Rates were that high, and everybody's looking at me. How did you do that? And I said, my producer just dropped this off. I said I had a button made up. Yeah. And my button said, "Rumor is we're in a recession. I'm not participating." I'm not participating.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so my average loan amount was $81,000, and my first year we funded $27 million in loans. Wow. And went on in 12 years to help almost 6,000 families finance real estate. And I just got an urge, probably I'd probably be just turning 30. And I've been doing mortgages for 8 years. And it was like, my company said, can you start training the other loan reps on how to do what you're doing? So I started doing that. Yeah. And 3 years later, it was like, I've been doing loans for almost 12 years. And maybe there's a bigger calling. Maybe there's something else that I could do to create even more impact. And so I chose to start the company I still own today. And I launched that company in 1992. And in 1994, we had a massive interruption of the market. I think interest rates went up 400 basis points in 90 days. So I was used to it. I was used to doing things in tough markets. So that was my start. And Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And today, we've been doing the company that I started has 5 million clients around the world. We believe in creating high trust relationships, and the rest is history, I guess. Here we are.
Nice. Awesome, man. Yeah, I love that button. I'm gonna need to get one.
But I'll send you one. Just shoot me your
Yeah,
address. I'll send it to
I
you.
will.
We just had 100 of them made up.
Did you? Awesome.
Yeah.
So, in terms of marketing, what would you say worked best for you when you were starting out?
Yeah. So, and I know that a lot of people are looking at the balancing act between high touch, high tech, and then obviously what we teach is high trust. I think that marketing automation today can be really dangerous in terms of trying to create value, because there's so much of what we put into marketing automation that we don't really know a client will value, right? So I was in the bookstore the other day with my wife. We go to the bookstore often and just kind of gaze. And there was this book called Noise. And that was the title of the book. It was Noise. And it had to do with how to get your message out in a world that's crowded and noisy, right? So what I chose early on, and mind you, this will give everybody like, really, that there was a time like that. Yeah. So when I started the loan business, fax machines had not been invented yet. The only computer that was out there was a 5-inch square digital DOS-based Microsoft computer. Yeah. And credit reports took 5 days, and they were generated on perforated paper, and you would have to pull it out and take the perfs off and then ACO punch it 2 holes in the top to start to build your loan file, right? So I didn't have technology to speak of. I was the first person that bought a cell phone in Orange County, California. It was $4,000, but that's a whole another story. So here's what worked. What worked was, what does a relationship want? And I made a decision early on that you can pursue transactions and make a living, but you can pursue relationships and make a fortune. Right. And today we have people that are in our coaching club and group, and they're funding $20 million a month in personal production. And they're doing it with maybe 10 or 12 real estate agents and some other verticals, right? So the deal was, we called it value streaming. And what it meant was, let me give you things you need to help you win in business. And if you tell me where you need help, then I'm going to go find the things that you need. And it was really an interesting kind of deal. So I began.
We're talking about realtors, right? Like with these.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter who, but real estate agents is where I started. And then I got a couple of builders. But if you sit down with any business professional today, whether they're an insurance agent, financial planner, real estate agent, CPA, it doesn't matter. You can ask them like questions like, based on where your business is right now, where would you like to see it in the next 2 to 3 years, and how can I help? Yeah. Or based on where you are right now, what are 2 or 3 of your biggest concerns, and how could I help? Or I know you're buying your first house. Most first-time home buyers have a lot of fear. I want to come alongside you and assuage that fear and take it away. So what are you maybe fearful of? And then I want to come up with that. So what I did is I began distributing ideas. I was known as the idea guy. And all I did was I got very careful with who did I want to do business with. If they were really good, they already had a lender. Yep. So I knew what I needed to do was give them enough value that at some point they would compare the value that I'm giving them, not receiving loan referrals, to the value their current mortgage professional was giving them or not, and the referrals that were going that way. And with one of my top realtors, it took 18 months of that kind of distribution before the scale went like this. And then in the next 4 years, we did $62 million in loans, which is about 100 transactions a year based on that average loan amount. But the same holds true with borrowers. If you want your borrowers for life, I mean, the biggest regret that mortgage brokers and mortgage professionals have is that they're not paying deep enough attention to the touch piece in their database. They're not actually intentionally adding value there. Well, you can't add value there if you're just going to send out an email to your whole database once a month. You need to, at the very least, carve out the top 5 or 10% influencers and have conversations with them. Like, I had a guy that ran a physician group of 2,000 physicians. How could I add value to the doctors? How could I add value to the doctors? And what could we do for them that would be unique and different? I happen to have, my father was a doctor. And so I asked my dad, I said, what do doctors have problems with? And he told me everything. And so I started doing marketing to doctors, but it was based on what my father, who is a doctor, told me. If you did this for a doctor, they'd find it very valuable. So here today, we have dental.
Spoke their language.
We have dental practices. We have physician practices. We have legal and financial services practices. I know a dentist that follows our methodology and makes $7 million a year.
Wow.
And 15 years ago, he wasn't even making $750,000 a year.
Wow.
So so that's what you have to do. Don't send stuff because you think it's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ask clients in the digital world, what do you need and how can I help? What do you need and how can I help? I can find an answer today for anybody's problem in about like 0.2 of a second.
Right.
So I'm just going to be the bridge between knowledge and what you need.
Right. Love it.
Yeah.
So get to know your clients, get to know your realtor partners, right? Get to see what you can help them with.
It's a win, Brian. I mean, think about it. Like I can say to a realtor, most loan officers are happy to get a borrower referral from you and do a good job on it. Mm-hmm. I'd love to earn that. But my more important goal is to help you win in real estate. And if I can help you win, then we're going to do business together. And it just changes everything like that.
Yeah. And that's so you wrote a book and you talk about in the book the laws that govern the sales process. Tell me a little bit about some of the laws.
Well, under the topic you and I are talking about right now, with the law that most resonates, it's called the law of the hook. And the law of the hook says a captivated audience stays to the end. So if I'm in selling and I understand that selling is only really solving, I'm no longer seeing myself as a salesperson. I'm seeing myself as a solutionist. My job is to ask you a question. Yeah, my job is to ask you a question or two or three about what you want. And then I need to help you get it. I'll give you an example right now. So I had a CEO that called me 3 years ago. We were on a conversation right before COVID hit. And during the conversation, Brian, she said, I wish I had a crystal ball. Okay. So I'm listening with the intent to solve, not the intent to sell. And so I parked that thought over here on the right. And I asked her, I said, what would having a crystal ball do for you? And she told me things that, man, if she could just have a little insight into the future, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a deep conversation around that. As soon as I hung up, I grabbed my assistant and I said, I want you to find a sterling silver stand with at least a 4-inch crystal ball. Yeah. And I want to send it to Melissa today or tomorrow overnight. I want it wrapped. I want it beautiful, right? Yeah. I do an interview. This is 3 years ago. I do an interview with Melissa last Thursday. Okay. And in the frame on the video, over her right shoulder, is the sterling silver stand with the crystal ball. Yeah. You know, and so now at the very least, every time she sees the crystal ball, she thinks of me. Every time we have a discussion, it involves, what do you think the crystal ball is saying? And it's like we immediately connect over me hearing one thing that she needed. So then same woman, a couple months later says, I'm looking for a job description for a head of national production for retail mortgage. Do you have any? Right. No. But what did I say to her? I said, sure. Yeah. I'm not home yet, but let me get home and I'll send you a couple later on tonight. Okay. So what do you think I did? Google. Yep. National job description, retail mortgage, bum. How many entries do you think came up in like 0.2 of a second? Oh, thousands. Tens of thousands. Yeah. It's crazy, right? So I only scroll through the first 2 pages. I spend a half an hour reading job descriptions and comp plans, and I find 2 that I really like. Yep. So that night, she told me that morning what she needed, asked if I could help. That night, she had 2 links via email for me, and she used one of them, and she ends up hiring a head of national production because she said, do you have a job description for head of national? No, but I said yes. So that's that's solution mindset, right? You got to listen to people, what they say they need, you got to ask questions to find out what people need. It sounds like sales 101, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to act on it. And the litmus test is like, if I do a loan for a borrower, do I know where the borrower wants to be financially in 20 years, 15 years, 10?
Right.
If I'm not asking the right questions, I can't serve them for the rest of their life. You know,
Right.
if I have a real estate agent that last year I referred $212,000 in commissions to,
Yeah.
she's not going anywhere.
No.
She's never, and in fact, she's going to be very, very careful who she recruits for me. If I help a financial, I just printed out a slide from one of my elite members. He said I sent out a $27,000 referral today to a real estate agent from doing my annual mortgage review. This year, we've referred over $1 million in commissions to real estate agents. Wow. On the flip side, he sent me something. He said, I just referred a $7 million client to one of my financial planners. A $7 million asset client to a financial planner is worth a boat ton of money.
Yeah.
So you got to help people win this way. It's just like, it's the greatest disruptor in mankind.
Yeah. So the law of the hook.
Right.
Yeah. I love it. Listen for the, like, how you can help. Listen for the solution, right? Be a problem solver.
Listen with the intent to solve.
Listen
not with the intent to solve. Not with the intent to sell.
Not with the intent to sell. Yep. Love it.
Yeah. One other law that I'm really big on is called the law of the hourglass. Yeah. The law of the hourglass says you've got to make your best moves before your time runs out. Most mortgage brokers and mortgage lenders are horrible at the idea of time efficiency and time organization. Yeah. And one of the things we do in our coaching company, Brian, is when you come into coaching, we measure how much you're worth per hour based on your previous 90 days of income. Okay. And then we help you every 2 weeks measure how that income is growing. Yeah. And I just saw a testimonial today from a gal named Lisa. It's on the toddduncan.com sales mastery website. She said, I went from $32 an hour to $756 an hour in 10 months. I want you to think about what I just said. Yeah. $32 to almost $800 in 10 months.
Right.
And so the law of the hourglass says most mortgage professionals do way too much that earns way too little. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, they're not growing. And the job that every mortgage person has, every real estate, every business owner has, is to build more residual income than earned income. Meaning that you gotta do it the right way. You gotta bring in a team. You gotta have specific job descriptions and titles, and you gotta be able to begin to realize that I can make more money per hour and work less hours and make more total income by working less, but by focusing that less time on the 2 or 3 things that matter most: borrower consultations, operational excellence, and maybe realtor, builder, financial planner, partner reviews or partner calls. That's all I should be doing. That's all I should be doing.
Yeah, I bet you of the people or LOs are spending a lot of time in areas that aren't making them much money.
100%. Wow. Yeah, more than not. In fact, the average loan officer in America prospects 24% of the day, but only produces 5% of the day in active selling. So think about that. That's how screwed up their prospecting is. That's how inefficient it is. That's how unreliable it is, where the top producers spend about 20% of the day prospecting and about 48% of the day is active selling. And so what you really have to do is understand that if you fill your time with things that don't produce revenue, you will never make more revenue.
Right.
So you got to look at the formula, and for every 25 things an LO will do, there's about 22 that somebody else could do better and cheaper.
Love it. Yeah. Hire someone to do that.
Hire a bunch.
Right.
But just don't hire to hire. I mean, hire to build a team. Part of how you build revenue without continuing to work hard is you have a team that does things for you, and it's an honor to be on your team. They don't, and everybody's got a risk tolerance with how much team they add. But what I determine is for about every $100,000 in total comp, I would do another $10 million in loan volume
Right.
And you can just do the math real quick. I mean, that's a profound exchange of revenue versus income.
Yeah.
Like email. How much would it cost to have somebody check email every minute of every hour? Like $50 an hour. And if you can make $5,000 an hour, why wouldn't you pay somebody 1% of the income?
Manage your email. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Some things I think borrowers, get upset about is that it seems like the loan is going smoothly until like it gets close to the closing, and then it's like, oh shit, we need this, we need that, and so like, where was all this communication? And before the end, and before the time came, and then it seems like there's like a lot of scrambling around.
Well, it's like there's a reason why people, like in the traditional model, people get this. There's a reason, like, you originate the first 2 weeks of the month, and the last 2 weeks of the month you do everything you need to do to get the loans closed. So
right.
half the month you're not actually producing new revenue. You're only saving the revenue that's there. Yeah. And so the idea, and I got a document right over here on top of my other desk, and so I got a guy that I coach. Last year they closed $312 million in volume in his branch, and he's the main LO. Yeah. And between the time you apply to the time 1 week after you close, there's 11 intentional touch points.
Yeah.
And the attitude is one and done. So his whole philosophy is, I'm going to touch it once and then it's going to be done. And then the transaction coordinator takes over. She or he is going to touch it, and whatever they're touching it on, that's done. There's no circumstance in his business where you get close to closing and it becomes frenetic. Yeah. In fact, it's the opposite. The closer you get to closing, the smoother it goes, because we're more proactive back here instead of reactive up here. And that is, you're talking about creating a customer service experience that's second to none, which we need to do in the digital age. Yep. You got to have the humanity in here along with the technology to make things work. There's no reason why loans should get harder as they go along.
Right.
It should be easier. We should say yes to the right loans at the right time up front, and we should over communicate and over document and do everything. So every day the loan goes forward, the day gets easier and easier. That loan gets easier and easier. It's perfect.
So you said you said you have a document. What's it, that document outlines all these touch points and like when the loan officer steps out, when the loan coordinator steps in. Is that what you're... Hang on. We got to see this.
Well, I'll put it up there without doing a screen share, but yeah, so this is the model.
Okay.
So that's in this guy's world. This is what happens from the very start of a loan to 1 year after the loan closes. That's it.
Awesome.
The whole template. And by the way, this says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in the first year. There's a request for referrals.
9 times
in the first year.
Nice.
Yeah, 4 of which are during processing.
Right. Okay.
So and that's what we call that in high trust, is a circle of cash flow.
Yeah.
That, if I know you and you know me and we like each other, who do you know that I need to know?
Yeah.
And it's a +1. We talk about +1. If I fund 100 loans and I understand to activate the +1, then assuming I would do 100 next year, I'm now going to do 200. Yep. So I activate the +1, assuming I'm going to do 200 the next year. I now do 400. Yep. And all I'm looking for is such a brilliant customer service experience that everybody can find one person a year to refer my way. And you do that, and it's like pretty soon 80% of your volume is referral only, and it's just powerful. Conversion's higher, trust is higher, loyalty is longer. Right. No downside. Yeah, no downside.
Tracking all this, right? What you track, what you measure, you can improve.
Right.
Love it. So I had found on your website the high trust interview.
Yes.
But, when were you using that when you were in mortgage?
Yeah, I didn't call it that then, but I I actually formulated that after a 13-week sales camp that I went to as a brand new LO. And the essence was, what can I ask you that nobody else asks, so you trust me differently than you've trusted anyone else ever? And that became kind of the impetus. So one of the questions we asked at the start of the high trust interview is, and we set it up like this, really appreciate the chance to meet with you today, Debbie. Karen, who is my title referral or whatever, felt that our time together would be really, really well spent. I want you to know at the get-go, I'm different than probably every LO you've ever met. My goal is to help you succeed at the highest level you'd like to succeed. The loans are a byproduct of that, but I can't help you succeed unless I, first of all, know what's important about being successful to you. So as a real estate professional, what is important about success to you? What do you look for? What does it mean to you? And I have about a 5-minute conversation that gets pretty emotional pretty quickly. And then my next set of questions is, so during a transaction, what are the things that are most important to you? And what are the ways my team and I need to operate to help your customer win so that you look like the hero for referring them to us? That's a 20-minute conversation. Okay. And then I end with what's called the lost leads conversation, which goes like this. How many transactions did you close last year? That's answer 1. How many people did you need to talk to? That's answer 2. How many of those do you think might have used you had you had a different follow-up system? That's answer number 3. And then how much do you make per transaction? That's answer 4. And then comment 5 is, it looks like you're leaving about $410,000 on the table every year. Would you like to do something about that? So let me replay it. I closed 30 transactions. I talked to 300 people. That means 27 people. 27 people, 10% of the 270 that didn't use me, could have used me, might have used me. So if I make $10,000 a transaction and there's 27 transactions out of the 270 people that didn't use me, that's $270,000. Would you like to do something about that? And here's the last piece. 99% of loan officers don't do this. After that meeting, you execute a weekly follow-up strategy meeting, 15 minutes on the phone, doesn't have to be in person, for 12 weeks. And if I do that, then the relationship, whether it's an agent, a builder, it doesn't matter. I've got to do more after the interview to keep the thing growing than I did before to set the appointment. And that's where 99% of LOs miss out. You can make a fortune with 10 realtors, but you got to love on them every week and not just calling them and say stupid stuff. You got to be in a relationship.
It's a partnership.
Exactly.
You're going to grow that. So 99% aren't doing that. And you're saying to schedule a follow-up call with them for 12 weeks.
So Brian, just tell me, Todd, I can't wait to do business with you.
Todd, I just can't wait to do business with you.
Brian, I feel the same way. So I've opened my calendar and I check in with my agent partners once a week for about 15 minutes. Friday is usually the day. I've got a 1 o'clock and a 2:30 available. What would you like to commit to for just a 15-minute check-in so I can help everything we just talked about come true for you?
1 o'clock.
Let's say you say 1 o'clock. So great. I open my calendar. I go, Brian, PPS, Partnership Planning Session, PPS. Start date a week from today. End date 13 weeks from today. 5-minute alarm reminder. People to add. Brian, boom. Send invite, boom. So I'm sitting there with you and you just got the invite on your phone from me. What are you going to do? Not accept it?
No, you're going to accept it.
So now what have I just done? I have just now done what 99% of LOs don't do. I have scheduled 12 weeks of follow-up with you. It's magical. It's magical. And then every time I call, I'm going to ask questions like this, like, who are you going to be showing property to in the next 7 to 10 days that I haven't spoken with yet? That's called lead aggregation, right? Who have you met in the last 7 to 10 days that I've not yet had a conversation with? Or that you're not sure are going to use you. And then I could call on your behalf and reel them in. It's like, what can we do better together? How can we be more efficient together? It's just like if you went on a date with somebody and you got so excited about, wanting to spend more time with them, would you follow up?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and in business, it's like that. If I get excited about doing business with somebody, I need to follow up, because if you don't follow up, they don't follow through.
Yep.
That's a very important point for people to hear in this podcast. If you don't follow up, people don't follow through.
Right.
Simple.
And you were doing this back in what, 30 years ago, you said?
Well, my first loan was November of 1980, and my last loan was April of 1992.
Okay. So,
yeah, and by the way, more important is that 30 years later, we've taught over 5 million people to do this.
Yeah.
And the high trust interview is the holy grail of influence. If you do it, people say yes.
Nice.
It's like, and I'll give you a borrower example too. Like, think about this. So we have a loan officer, and one of the things we teach people is to talk less so you can sell more, right? It's like, don't talk more because you'll sell less.
Listen more, yeah.
So we talk about this idea of like the 10-word close. I don't believe in using closing as like an idea, but at some point you have to engage the relationship. So this guy's following our strategies in coaching, and we put everybody on a 30-day assignment, go out and use Talk Less, Sell More with borrowers and agents, and then come back in a month. We'll get back on the web. Let's talk about success stories. So he gets somebody to call him, and he sets the appointment with them. They're moving from Anchorage to Portland.
Yeah.
And they get on Zoom, and he says, I'm really, really grateful that Janelle referred you guys to me. I love working with first-time home buyers, and I think I'm pretty good at it. Before we get started, I want to ask you guys just one question. And the question is, what would it mean to you to own a home? Yeah. Now, these guys are first-time home buyers, right? So the question is, what would it mean to you to own a home? 10 words, right?
Yeah.
So he pauses, and the wife begins tearing up and then crying. And about 15 seconds later, the husband begins tearing up and crying. And at the end of the day, Brian, what the wife said to the mortgage professional is, if we could buy a home, we'd be the first couple in the history of our family to own a home.
Wow.
And he just let that settle in. There was no interest rate conversation. There was no good faith estimate conversation. There's no cost. None of that took place. One question, 10 words, nothing but emotion. He let it sink in for a minute or so.
Right.
He got teary.
Yep.
And he looks at them and he says, I'm going to make that happen for you. Yeah. Are you ready to get started? That is the ultimate borrower interview.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
cool. It's amazing.
Yep.
Love it. So, challenging market out there today. What would you do? How do you think, what would you do to thrive in today's market?
Nothing different than I did in a market way worse than this market. Here's what it gets down to. It gets down to right now, discipline, rinse and repeat, discipline, rinse and repeat. You can get through any market, like in 30 days. Yep. If you're listening to this, in 30 days, you could follow our plan and have 30 face-to-face appointments with referral partners that right now you don't know.
Right.
If you're experienced in the business, you could call every person, realtor, builder, whomever that's referred you a buyer that you've closed in the last year. You could call every one of them and tell them that you're expanding your business. You'd like to add 10 new partnerships and you would like them to be one of them. Is there a time that we can get together to have a conversation about what that might look like? You can do that right now. So there's this idea that we teach, Brian. It's called the 90-day burn. And the 90-day burn means whatever market presents, depending on how unique and difficult it may or may not be compared to the previous market, in 90 days, you can ratchet your business up. Yeah. And that's all I would do. I'd get back to basics. I would make sure that I understand that I might have to go deeper with a few partnerships. So I'll give you an example. Like if I have 20 realtors, and I do this in 30 days, and then I follow up every week. Yeah. And all we're going to do together is generate one referral. Okay. So that's 20 referrals a month. So if I ask the question, like I just shared, what would it mean to you to, and there's like 20 different questions. What would it mean to you to own a home? Then I've got 20 conversations, and let's say 5 of those end up being full pre-quals and potential loans and TBDs or contracts. So if I have 20 calls a week, 20 agents, 1 deal each, that's 80 a month.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's 20 full-blown credit pull pre-quals into processing.
Yeah.
So if 90% of those close, then what am I at?
18.
18 loans a month.
Yeah.
Times $5,000. You can win in any market, but you got to have the right attitude.
Right. I love it. Yeah. I'm not participating in rumors.
The basics don't change. And then after the market shifts and we get out of the quote, volatility that we're in right now, then what happens is you go look at the 20 and you say, okay, who are the 10 that I want to go really deep with?
Yeah.
That's all I would do, right? That's all I would do right now. I would get my game on. I would expand the number of people I'm counting as referral sources. I would meet with them. I would deepen the conversation. I would come to our website and look at the downloadable resources we have that are no cost to help you ask the right questions so you get people excited. But dude, I'm telling you right now, and I appreciate the fact that people have to really think about what I'm going to say is that really true? The beautiful thing about a market like this is you have less competition. It's a cleansing effect.
Yep.
Many of the people that shouldn't be in this business aren't in it anymore, and we'll continue to see that over the next 18 months. But man, oh man, talk about get more from less people, because there's less people in the business.
Yep.
And home sales we don't have a balanced buyer seller market yet. We still have an insane seller's market in most places in America. So you got a position with buyers right now like there's no tomorrow, and we're still going to have multiple offer wars in a lot of cities until it calms down. Appreciation this year is going to be at 5% instead of 20%, which it was last year, but it still makes sense to buy real estate at 5.5%.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's my wisdom on that one. The market it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Don't even think
you get to choose.
In that.
No, you get to choose. You get to choose how you want to be in the market. Yeah.
What do you think stops people out there from building relationships with realtors, or why do you think there's people are hesitant about it? They don't like it, right? Or what do you think that's about?
I don't know. It's like if I were to present you with 2 options. Brian, you can wake up every day and hope you get a loan, or you could wake up every day and know you'll get a loan. Which option would you choose?
Yeah, I'd wake up and know.
Okay, so if you're going to wake up and know, then the question is, why would you not believe in creating loyalty with the 20 people that can make that happen?
Right.
Why would you not do that? Because left on your own, the loans you're going to get and the referrals you're going to get are fairly accidental and random.
Yeah.
And as the market ticks up, there's going to be less and less of that.
Mm-hmm.
But winning real estate agents, winning financial planners, people that are, in the top 20 to 40% of producing hierarchies in any discipline, they make money no matter what the market's doing.
Yeah.
And they're, and that's the deal. So I would ask, what would happen if you were the guy that created this, which I coach, and you own 400 rental properties because you have built revenue the right way. You're 43 years old. You own 400 rental properties. You take 15 weeks of vacation a year.
Yeah.
And you have 3 or 4 personal houses and a private jet, and you're 43.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that? It's just mortgages.
Right.
It's just but I can't do everything myself. And he's chosen to scale under kind of our leadership and our coaching. But why would you not do that? I mean, so here's the other deal. You do this, you get to work for 10 years and make a fortune. You don't do this, you have to work 40 years and you'll be broke still at the end.
Yeah. Crazy.
Emotionally and financially.
Interesting. Yeah. I love it.
Yep. All right.
So we talked about the lost lead conversations. What do you think LOs, I think we just touched on it, right? That LOs are not doing enough of, and that's building these relationships, setting up the relationships for that follow-up for 12 weeks.
It's the number one. It's the number one discipline ignored by most people. It's like, in fact, if you look at 100 LOs, there's only 15 that are really good at executing follow-up. And so you just need to be in the decision-making mode. Which group do you want to be in? 85% don't follow up, and 15% do. So why would you go through all the motion, and why would you do all the work if you weren't prepared to follow up?
Right.
And tomorrow and then in the month of July, we're doing a webinar called How to Recession-Proof Your Business. And I think there's 3,000 people plus that are going to be joining us tomorrow. And the one thing I'm going to talk about is how to build the database revenues so that you can scale your database referral system so that no matter what the economy is doing, you have thousands of people to refer business to you. And that's what everybody's doing right now. I mean, there's like, if you have a refi based business right now, you're in trouble. And and the purchase business is the only thing that really matters. And then intentional and valuable refis with your database strategically are okay all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's interesting if you think about, like, I'll just let me pull something up real quick. I'll just do the math for your listeners, and then we can start to wrap this. But like, if I go, here we go. So let me just say this to everybody. So what would happen if you think like every borrower I do a loan for, okay, in the following 12 months will refer me to one more loan. That's it, one. Okay. So in 5 years, I get 5 loans from every borrower. If my income is $3,500 a loan, then that model is worth $17,500 per borrower.
Right.
Following? Okay. So if I have 500 loyal borrowers in my database, and I times it by 17,500, I actually can create an $8.7 million commission economy for myself and my family. Wow. 500 borrowers.
500 borrowers.
One referral per year each that closes.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
That's $1.7 million a year in commissions without making a call on a realtor.
Right.
That's just your database.
That's just your past borrower. Yeah, love it.
So they're your current borrowers. For which they can't be passed because that's like PASSED is dead. And if they're passed like you did a loan for them, then you're thinking the wrong way. Everybody you've closed a loan for is a current client.
It's a client, yeah.
You just got to figure out where the next referral's coming from. That's it.
Love it. All right. Where can people register for that webinar?
Just come to our website, toddduncan.com, and you can just do the drop down to events and register there. Or you just search on social how to recession proof your business, and the links are all over social. I can send you one outside of this, and you could send it out to everybody if you wanted to. But it's going to be fun. We did a test run.
Awesome.
We did a test run last week, and it was great. It was great.
Awesome. So last question, what would you say is what would you say the greatest insight to a mortgage brokerage owner trying to take their company to the next level?
I think what it would probably be, and I'll just create a real simple picture.
Perfect.
I would have, if I'm a mortgage broker owner and I'm trying to build the company, which means I'm building it with people beyond just me doing loans, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I tell people all the time is to think through a scenario. As a leader owner, would you rather have 20 originators on your team that do $1 million each a month, $20 million a month, right? Or would you rather have 5 on your team that do $4 million each? And it's a really big question, because if I look at 20, there's a strong chance that about half of them are probably never going to go to the top producer level. It's not bad or good. It's not right or wrong. It's just truth. Another 5 to 7 of that group would actually thrive more being on a team for the 4 that are, or the 5 that are doing 4 million.
Yeah.
So out of 20, I could probably reallocate time, resource, and energy by backfilling 5 originators with 5 new production partners.
Yep.
And letting 10 originators go.
Yeah.
And do more volume at scale, more efficiently. Everything behind the scenes gets easier because I have less people involved. And at the end of the day, Andrew Carnegie, who today would be worth $3 trillion.
Right.
He said, put all of your eggs in one basket and watch the basket.
All right.
This was written in 1903. It was published in the Pittsburgh Bulletin. And he said, the key to success is put all your eggs in one basket and watch the basket.
It's a basket.
So I could do 100 loans a year with 100 realtors, or I could do 100 loans a year with 10 realtors.
Yep.
Or I could do 100 loans a year with 1 realtor.
Right.
Which is easier?
The 1 realtor.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's what I would, you bet.
Awesome, Todd. Thanks for joining. We'll have that webinar link. Any other resources, anyone that you would suggest people find on your website?
Yeah, I mean, just come to, toddduncan.com, check the events out. Our sales mastery event's coming up October 11th through the 14th.
Okay.
30th anniversary, and we're going to go big on the future of mortgage lending. And we're going to be starting to share some diversification models, some income models. We usually get about 2,000 people that hang out there, and they can check out the agenda right now and look at that. We also are doing the High Trust Sales Academy in Dallas, Texas in December. That is locked down to 300 people only, and I teach for 4.5 days a 400-page playbook. So you may want to take a look at that. The other thing, though, is to just download the white papers. We have 3 or 4 different white papers that are free to download. Talk Less, Sell More, the High Trust Interview, and the High Trust Interview for Financial Planners. So download those, they're free, and then you and I will keep talking, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Brian. Be well.
Talk to you.
Take care.
Yep.
See ya.
If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit mortgagebrokermarketing.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Mortgage Brokers, tripling your online sales by getting your internet marketing done the right way. Also check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to optimizing your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Mortgage Success Podcast. Thank you for listening.